We have lots to talk about in today's video, including the latest trade speculation around the league. Tonight's rumor mill focusing on teams like Toronto, as well as Vancouver, Buffalo, as well as Edmonton as well. Plus, we have Matt Rempe facing a major suspension for multiple reasons on a really dirty hit on Dallas Stars defenseman Muriel. We'll discuss how that could play out. Plus, Austin Matthews is out again with a nagging injury. Patrick Laine extremely hot for the Montreal Canadiens. And is the head coaching job in Detroit getting a little hot for the seat of Derek Lalonde? They have been really falling in the standings lately, and they're on pace tonight for back-to-back losses against Montreal Canadiens, sending them down to almost the bottom of the Eastern Conference. We'll discuss all that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here today. I want to start the video with the pending hearing for Matt Rempe of the New York Rangers. If you haven't seen the hit, Matt Rempe in last night's action against the Dallas Stars absolutely laid out Miro Heiskanen. This hit, there's so many things you could call this. To me, it's charging, it's elbowing, it's a late hit from behind. So offering him an in-person hearing gives them the option of suspending five or more, like more than 5 games. Last time he was suspended, I believe it was 4. The guy's played 22 NHL games, and he's been ejected on 4 times, like 4 occasions. He needs to learn, he's a massive human being, as we know. But, I mean, he's got to play more responsible than that. That is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think there's any way you can defend this hit. Like I said, he's going in. To me, it's a charge. It's a little bit late. He's going in. He's got the elbow up, and then he nails him right in the head from behind. I just don't understand. To me, there's no place in hockey. This is not a hockey play. There's so many different things here. I really have a feeling with his history, and he hasn't played a ton of hockey. So if you look at the number of incidents that he's either been ejected or faced player safety for supplemental discipline, it's quite a high percentage. I mean, guys go hundreds of games in their NHL careers and not face anything because they don't play a dirty game. And then you got this guy coming in trying to make a name for himself, and it's just I don't know. I mean, I understand the Rangers. I know when head coach Peter Laviolette said he didn't defend the hit, but he said that the team responded well from the energy from it and all that. Okay, I get all that, but then is it really worth it, to give yourself a major penalty and then have this guy be not available to play again for an extended period of time? I don't know. To me, it's dirty on multiple varieties here, and I really hope they throw the book at him. And I really do think, obviously, it's going to be it's got to be at least 6. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 7 or 8 because he's got that repeat offender multiplier that they can use, and it's just not good. So to me, this is going to be major. They are doing a hearing. Even though they offered him in person, I believe they've settled because the player obviously has the option to go to New York and meet with them. But I believe it's going to be done via Zoom. So it'll be done tomorrow sometime in the afternoon. I would think by tomorrow night we're probably going to have a result. They can take their time and make this decision right as long as they make the announcement before the Rangers have to play again is really the only really effect here. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, Rempe facing a major suspension. I have no doubt he's going to be suspended. It's just a matter of how many games, and I think it's going to be a big number this time because, like I said, it was bad on so many different levels. A few other updates around when it comes to injuries. Some guys that are returning tonight, including Seth Jones. He's back for the Blackhawks. Of course, that game's already done. They played earlier today. Sean Couturier is missing the game between Philly and Columbus. And, of course, that game, they're honoring the Gaudreau brothers. Of course, this is Columbus's first visit to Philly. So it's the rink that would have been closest to home for them, that they would have grown up closest to. It's kind of weird if you take I mean, I know myself. It's just I personally I play a lot with numbers, and it's just funny. You take Johnny's number and Matthews' number, and you add them up, comes to 34. This is Columbus's 34th game tonight. They are, of course, being honored again. So it's great to see the family, being attending all these games. I'm sure that it's tough, though. Obviously, it's been quite some time, but I'm sure something like this, as dramatic as it was, doesn't get easier. But I just, happy to see the NHL and all these teams kind of going about their business to honoring the two young men who lost their lives way, way too early on a senseless, completely avoidable tragedy, in my opinion. Of course, the guy who did this is still going through the court process, and he's likely going to be heading to jail for a really long time. Of course, Austin Matthews is out tonight for the Leafs. They're doing battle, of course, right now as I record this video with the New York Islanders. Islanders are leading that game 3-2 as I record this, but it's not over yet. Matthews apparently re-aggravated the injury against the Sabres last night. And, of course, that's whatever the injury is, because they've been very secretive about it, is what he had missed time for in November when he was out for a couple of weeks and ended up going to Germany. So we don't know how things are going to be handled here. They said that because the next game for the Leafs is Monday. They don't know if he's going to play it. I'm going to guess probably not, considering how careful and cautious they were last time. If they're saying this is a re-aggravation, they have an extended time, like some extra days off for the Christmas break. I would think that he probably doesn't play Monday. They take the Christmas break, see how he's feeling when they return, and maybe they shut him down for a few weeks. I know there's some people wondering if he ends up out for an extended time. If this injury is really that much of a nagging issue, does he go to Four Nations, or does he end up maybe missing it? Could put a big hole in USA's lineup, but at the same time, he's going to look after and do what's right for himself and his club team before that. So we'll see what happens with Matthews, but obviously definitely some level of concern. Don't see or hear anybody in the Leafs organization hitting the panic button here just yet, but it's definitely a big deal. Patrick Laine continues to be extremely hot for Montreal. He's got 8 power play goals now, and what has he played, like 9 games? It's ridiculous. He's basically in the Ovechkin office on the right or on the left face-off circle. You know what's coming, and you can't stop it. Patrick Laine is shooting the puck at an incredible rate, and he's showing the same kind of goal-scoring ability that he did early in his career with the Winnipeg Jets. So, obviously, Montreal hit a home run with this trade. I don't think they gave up too much to get him, and the way he's producing, it's kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, they had to rejig power play 1. The spot he's in what used to be Cole Caulfield's. Caulfield's obviously role has changed a little bit on the power play, but wow, the way he's scoring, they're not going to take him out of that spot. Like, he's been absolutely on fire. I think he's in second place now for power play goals in the NHL. And he's missed significant time. He's only played like a third of the season. So that is absolutely insane. He continues to be hot. Like I said, Montreal beating on Detroit for the second straight day. Of course, they are doing a home and home series there. So, clearly not good for the Red Wings. Montreal is playing a little bit better as of late. Laine's been a big part of that now. Most of Laine's production has been on the power play. So clearly, if you can stay out of the box, that Montreal power play has potential to be lethal now. And it's been a lot better lately. So clearly that's going to be a focus for other teams, is trying to take away that Laine one-timer. But obviously just a great story. Nice to see Laine having fun again. Nice to see him playing good hockey and producing and just, having a much better go here than he did during his time in Columbus. John Klingberg, another former NHL player, former Maple Leaf, was who we last saw him play with, is attempting a comeback here. Of course, he hasn't signed anywhere just yet. Had the similar hip surgery to Patrick Kane. Apparently, he's going to be starting to skate here after the holidays with a junior club. Going to be working with a lot of the same people that Patrick Kane worked with as well for his recovery and getting back to action. And he's hoping that sometime early in the new year, January for sure, maybe by February, it's hard to say exactly when, that he might be able to get a contract to go back to the NHL and hopefully finish out the season. Now, as long as he plays and signs the contracts on the roster before the trade deadline, he would be eligible to play in the playoffs or whatever team he goes to, assuming they qualify. So look for John Klingberg's name to be popping up sometime in January with the possibility of getting a short probably a cheap 1-year deal to play for the rest of the year and see if he can resurrect his NHL career. Now, as I mentioned, with Detroit losing the last couple of games, and they haven't done really overall great in the season as of late, is the Heat getting turned up on head coach Derek Lalonde. Like, you have to think something's got to give here in Detroit. I mean, we've heard more about Buffalo. Certainly, Buffalo's gotten a little bit more of attention because they're on a 11-game losing streak. They're playing the Bruins tonight. They were losing 2-1 in the third. I don't know. That game was not over when I started recording this. So if they do lose, of course, that'd be 12 in a row. It's kind of their situation. I think is amplified because of that. Whereas Detroit's been, they've won a few games here and there, so that the streak isn't as bad. But after losing consecutive games here to the Montreal Canadiens, they're going to end up below the Canadiens down in the standings, down only with Buffalo below them. So these two teams were hoping to make a push for playoffs, and now look where they're at. And like we've heard a lot from the Sabres talking about the patience. We're not expecting anything major there. But Derek Lalonde's on the job for a few years. Yzerman, man, I don't know. To me, I'd almost do a complete clean slate if I'm the owners of the Red Wings, but we haven't really heard a whole lot about Yzerman and whether or not there's pressure on him or if there's any chance at all they'd make a change. But you have to think with the way things have gone that at the very least a coaching change might be in order. But we know Yzerman typically is pretty patient. He was very patient. I mean, he inherited Jeff Blashill and kept him on way longer than many people ever thought before he made the change and brought Lalonde in. So again, we'll see what happens here, but you have to think the Heat is getting turned up. Now, the teams we're looking at in the rumor mill, I came across an article from ESPN, and it's very interesting. Talking a lot about it because of the roster freeze. We know there's not going to be any trades this week, but talking about some of the key names that have been out there in the rumor mill, taking a look at some of the options here that we might see as far as deals that come together after. So they said, let's go ahead and kind of facilitate some trades we think make sense and help both clubs. So here's an interesting one. We know that the Canucks have been linked forever here in the last number of weeks to find a top 4 defenseman. We've talked at length about the Pettersson-Miller rift, which again is getting lots of airtime tonight on Hockey Night in Canada. Clearly, we saw Rick Tocchet talk today, as well as Quinn Hughes. Both kind of acknowledged the fact. They didn't deny the fact that these two have issues at all. They acknowledged it, said that they should be able to work through it. That you don't have to be best buddies. You don't have to go to dinner together. You don't have to play video games together. But you need to have an existing professional relationship where you can coexist. And Quinn Hughes seems to think that they can do that. I know Friedman talked about it on Saturday Headlines as well, saying how at the end of the day, they need to coexist, and the preference for the Canucks is for them to do that. They don't want to have to move anybody here. They're both really good players and players they want to have in their lineup at the same time. So they're hopeful that this can come together and be put to rest. Friedman said they thought this was kind of dealt with last year and it was done, but apparently not. And they're hoping that they can figure out a way to move past it because it's becoming impactful in the rest of the team. It's becoming a distraction, and clearly it's affecting their play on the ice as well. So, they want to avoid it being too big here, and it's already taken on this massive role. So clearly that's something they're going to look at. But the trade discussed here from ESPN actually didn't involve either of these guys because, like they said in the article, the preference here is for both of them to stay. But we know they need a top 4D. It suggests trading Brock Besser for a guy like Bowen Byram. Now, we know Besser is looking for a major contract extension. We know that Brock Besser, had a really good year last year. But outside of that, he has been a bit inconsistent. Now, dating back the years past before last year, you could probably make an argument for Besser having a lot going on in his personal life for a few years. And, clearly, last year he was moved on from those things. He lost his dad. His dad was sick for a long time. And obviously once his dad passed away and he had some time to deal with that and some closure, last year was probably the first time in a long time he was a little bit more clear-minded probably. Had a real solid, 40-goal campaign. Not on pace to do that this year. But, like some of the other top guys, not playing terrible, but not exactly lighting it up either. And with the contract demands that are coming down the pipe here, if you can get a solid top 4 defenseman and a guy like Byram, who would probably become the number 2 defenseman on the team, that might be a major blue line upgrade that's worth doing. Balance things out, so to speak. So, what do you think about the possibility if they are going to make a move for a top 4 defenseman? You really don't want to move Miller or Pettersson if you can help it. Maybe it's Besser that goes because of the contract situation. That wouldn't be completely shocking either. So let me know what you think about that one. Secondly, talks about the Edmonton Oilers. We know that they've been looking for blue line help as well. And it suggests, and I've seen other reports suggesting this too, Ivan Provorov. Now, we've also heard from Columbus writers that there's a possibility that Ivan Provorov doesn't really want to be traded, and apparently he's interested in staying put and signing an extension. Ultimately, that takes two sides to tango. Will Columbus feel the same way? We don't know. But if Provorov has his way, he may not end up getting dealt at all. But it's going to be a situation to watch. Clearly, with Edmonton, they do need another blue liner. I think that's fair to say. Provorov probably would be a good fit, but there's other names out there as well. But with where his contract is at, after having it retained, it could be double retained by the time it makes it to them. It actually could be a really good addition value-wise as well from a cap perspective. But we'll see. No guarantees that he wants to leave Columbus. And if they decide they're interested in keeping him, maybe he doesn't get moved. But, Provorov to the Oilers for, one of their maybe younger, inexperienced players. Obviously Columbus looking more towards the future. Could be something that we see. And the other trade I thought was interesting was we know the Maple Leafs and their wish list is basically a number 3 center. We've heard that from numerous reports, all kinds of reporters and insiders out there saying that by the deadline, that's what the Leafs need to do, is they need to add a 3C. Their goaltending is pretty deep. Their blue line is pretty deep. A 3C is what they need. And according to this article, it suggests Yanni Gourde. And you know what? I think Yanni Gourde would be a terrific fit. I've also seen some reports suggesting that maybe the Tampa Bay Lightning attempt at bringing him back. They know firsthand, what he can do. That's where he played his best hockey. So it could end up even being a potential, situation here where it could become a bidding war for the Leafs and the Lightning to try to acquire his services. That would not be shocking. But obviously, the Kraken could retain half his contract because he is a pending UFA. If you're looking at the Leafs roster, though, I think it's a real possibility that it would make a lot of sense. We've seen some other guys like Ryan O'Reilly's name. Well, the Predators probably don't really want to move him. I'm not sure if he wants to go back to Toronto either. There's been some other names mentioned as well. Brock Nelson's name has been up from the Islanders. Also a possibility. But Gourde is more of your prototypical number 3C. Now obviously he's a little bit older, than he was a few years ago when he was winning championships with Tampa. But he still seems like he has lots of game in him, lots of energy, and certainly a guy who can trust in pretty much all situations. When Tampa was winning the Cup, their third line with him and Blake Coleman, they were phenomenal. They were absolutely phenomenal. And both guys ended up getting paid big bucks after they left. After that Tampa Bay, breakdown, you could say, because of the cap constraints. But at the end of the day here, Yanni Gourde might be an excellent option for the Leafs. I also seen reports, though, before suggesting that it might not be a done deal, that just because he's a pending UFA, don't completely rule it out that the Kraken try to sign him before the deadline, and maybe he signs an extension for a couple of years to finish things out there in Seattle. Now, I don't know. He's already got his Stanley Cup. He may not feel the need to go chase one again. It really boils down to, I think a lot of it's going to be whether or not Seattle has desire to bring him back. But he would be an excellent choice. So Gourde with the Leafs, Provorov with the Oilers. Could we see a Besser for Byram type of deal? Like I said, just because there's a holiday roster freeze, it doesn't mean it's going to stop a lot of NHL insiders and reporters from, reporting on possibilities, and in some cases here, just sharing their own personal ideas. But a lot of their ideas comes from intel to some degree, and then the rest of it is kind of, what their own opinions are, what they think these teams should do. So clearly, lots of options here. I'd also discuss a trade possibility between the Bruins and the Rangers, but I think I'm going to get into that one. Save that one maybe for tomorrow, because it was definitely a more complicated scenario that I would like to discuss, but I would like to have a little bit more time. I don't want to make this video too long. So those are your rumors here for tonight. So again, lots of hockey going on tonight. We still have a couple more NHL days of action here before things wrap up for the Christmas holiday. So stay tuned for that. As I mentioned before, in case you're new here, there will be content every single day. I will be having a video to post for Christmas. I most likely 99% will not be making new content on Christmas Day. Usually I prepare a video or two ahead for Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and that I have something new to post. That way, I don't like having an empty day with nothing new on the channel. And I know some people look forward to having, some kind of hockey content when there's not a lot to discuss. So I usually try to take the time to do those ahead of time. So there'll be, I'll probably talk about World Juniors a little bit, because I'll be doing a World Junior preview type video talking a bit about that tournament. I'll probably do another video talking about the 2025 NHL draft and some other things that we could be looking at here. Just that'll come up after the roster freeze. So there will be content, but if you're watching my channel on Christmas Day, Box Day, don't worry. It's not going to be videos I'm making that day. I'm taking those days off, spending time with family, having a little bit of a break, which is well needed and well deserved at times. I know I've seen lots of comments on the channel lately saying how tired I look. Absolutely. I've been run ragged between working a normal job, doing this full time, getting ready for the holidays. I'm also, have a family. I'm a coach for my daughter's team. I'm a busy guy. And yes, there's been some nights when I'm making content and I probably look like I'm ready to go to bed. And that's just the way it is. A little bit more alert tonight, but at the end of the day, it's we're getting to the point where it's time for a little break. So we'll need it, well deserved. The NHL cycle doesn't completely stop, even though it might not be as newsy as it can be at times over a few days span. So certainly let me know your thoughts on all of today's news and rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. I'll be back with some more updates tomorrow. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. Great place to keep up to date with all your news here at Top Shelf Hockey. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.